All right. We should be live.
Amanda, look at you. Long time no see. How are you doing?
Good. How are
You
you,
look
RJ?
fabulous.
Thanks.
I'm unbelievable in a good way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm coming at you today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Montana, in between Billings and
Mm-hmm.
Bozeman, Montana. So doing this logistics work, driving. I've got these brand new UPS trucks, which is kind of funny. Because I don't know if you saw the news, but UPS drivers make like $170,000 a year. So now all of a
Right.
sudden, as I'm driving these brand new UPS trucks across the country, I'm getting all sorts of women looking at me differently, like, "Hey, how you doing, big guy?" Like, hold on there, sweetheart.
You're like, I'm
And
just transporting this rig.
yeah, exactly. I'm not really a UPS driver, but the more you think about it, and it reminded me of that video clip, Man of Smash Your Highlights Daily, and he asked one of these black women if she would date a bus driver, and she
Right.
said, "Well, if he owns the bus company."
Right.
That hypergamous nature of women is it's just kind of funny. So, but yeah, people are shocked that UPS drivers, on average, I mean, that's not working a crap ton of overtime. That's the average pay. They make $49 an hour plus all the benefit health insurance. It gets them close to $170,000 a year on average. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty good payday. But anyway, doing logistics, I can only drive so many hours per day, and then I have to take a 10-hour break. So the way the mileage and the time worked out today, I just happened to end up here in Livingston, Montana. So I figure I'd stop here and talk with Miss Amanda, the good mother, and then have some little Mexican food, maybe go for a trail run and
Yeah.
work it all off and see if it
And
was any
drive
good.
again.
So drive again off to Vancouver, Canada.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna drive by your old
Oh yeah, my
out of
old
Seattle there.
stomping grounds. Yeah, that place is a shithole, man.
Yo,
It's bad up there.
yep. But I did almost, I sent you that picture. They are playing the Barbie movie right down the street, and it starts 4:15. So I said, yeah, maybe I should get up to speed with what's going on in the old feminist world. But I said, nah,
Yeah.
we'll just jump right into the live stream.
Yeah. I haven't heard good things about that movie. I mean, if the feminists are loving it, there has to be something seriously wrong.
Yeah. What I'd really like to do, I think it would be fun to I don't know, bring a group of guys, young men, 6, 8, 10, 12 of them. Let's go to the movie and then go out and, grab a Coca-Cola or something afterwards and let's talk about how women are looked at or how they view men today into thinking about young men, just so these guys can be somewhat prepared, understand that this is the environment they're being subjected to, and
Right.
need to be very, very themselves. And I think it'd be a learning exercise because I've heard it's pretty toxic towards the dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of men I think that are waking up in certain situations and realizing that how how I don't know how malicious some of these women are, especially in the workplace. And I kind of feel
Mm-hmm.
bad for the guys that didn't know what they were contending with a long time ago when these crazy bitches started doing battle with them.
Yeah, and I mean it's sad, but unfortunately, it's over and over and over again. They're just destroying things that were good and fun and productive and just pleasant to be around. If everybody now, especially men, we're on high alert in defense. We have to protect ourselves at all times. Be careful
Mhm.
about what you say, what you do, who you look at, how long you look at something, and it's really taken the joy out of a lot of the things that we just took for close to
Yeah.
60 years old. And I grew up in the 70s. My goodness, we had a ball, and we just didn't have a lot of this stuff to deal with. And it's just really sad. But I remember at the gym, I used to work out in this gym quite a bit a few years ago before COVID. They shut everything down with COVID. But there was just a real good group of just men and women, and we were all fit and taking care of our bodies, and we just have a good time. And it was, by any stretch of the imagination, it was not a woke environment. I mean, making comments back and forth that we would get banned if it was online anywhere, and we
Right.
just had fun. And then
Yeah.
on Friday after the workout, we'd go to the Mexican joint and we'd get some, chips and salsa and some guacamole, and have a couple cold beers or tequila. And then it was really funny. A couple of young women that had just graduated from college in the indoctrination center, they
Mm,
started joining us in this co-ed work environment, and we still made the same comments and these women, I mean, absolutely destroyed the group with their comments and toxicity, and it stopped being fun. And so
right.
we stopped going, and I started running and doing other things. I actually saw one of the guys on the golf a couple weeks ago, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, are you still at the gym working out?" He's like, "Nah, that thing all died. They don't do it anymore." So it's this whole idea of go woke, go broke, and they're just destroying everything that was fun and good natured before. So,
Yeah.
did you see the Budweiser tent? I just drove through Sturgis, South Dakota. They just wrapped up the motorcycle rally, and the Budweiser tent was basically vacant. And the motorcycle guys were not going to the Budweiser tent because of the whole Bud Light campaign with that trans dude. And if bikers aren't going to have Budweiser, they got a real problem, because I don't know who else is going to be drinking Budweiser.
Right.
But I, you
Right.
know, it's corporate America is pushing a lot of this feminist agenda. Obviously, we see it
Oh,
in the schools and universities.
yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the diversity, equity, inclusion. I like to call it
Yes.
diversity, inclusion, and equity. I think we should just call it the
Yes.
DIE
The
campaign,
die
because that's
campaign.
what's
Yep.
going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah. But tell me a little bit about that, your perspectives. Have you had any run-ins or issues?
I have actually. I got to talk to a fucking feminist in HR. I finally ran my mouth long enough to get somebody to call HR on me. And strangely, it was most likely a dude, which was a little sad. But yeah, I had a conversation with a feminist who admitted to having an agenda. She admitted to the goal being, let's see, making people feel comfortable shopping at places. And to do that, they were trying to make um, the culture of we'll call it the workplace, reflect the culture of the community. So they have this idea that, they break down a community by race and sex pretty much. And they want the environment, the store, to reflect the community. So if you break down the demographics, it'd be like half women. In my area, it's like 20% Hispanic, 10% Black. I mean, they don't definitely reach these quotas, but that's the idea, is
Yeah.
hiring based on innate traits, which is strange, instead of merit. And so I argued
Yeah.
with her about like how toxic of an environment that creates. And actually going back to Jordan Peterson's biblical series, there was a couple key points in that where he talks about like how destructive it is to have, you know, toxic like mothers, like there's good nature of motherhood, and mothers actually doing what they're supposed to be doing is uh like taking care of infants, right? Like that's noble. But if you start using those mothering techniques on people that are competent, it actually is destructive. And I saw this firsthand with the feminist that worked there. She created a super toxic culture. I mean, these crazy bitches that she hired were literally crying after she got fired. Like they were so emotionally attached to their work mommy, and it was disgusting. Like some of them even literally called her their work mommy. And it's like,
Crazy.
yeah,
I
it's so fucked up.
my my mom had a real simple approach. She raised three boys. She said it was like living in a locker room. And
Right.
but she always said her primary goal was to give us two things: give us roots and wings. So
Mm,
give us a good foundation, and then
yeah.
we just knew when you turned 18, it was 18 and out. And her job was to prepare us not only from infant to toddlers to the whole process, about how you treat a woman and how you interact in society and how you hold your fork and, manners at the dinner table, all of those things that generally you learn around the dinner table. And a mom generally is the one that teaches you those things.
Yeah.
And that's what she did. But she knew, I mean, her role for the most part was done. The older you got, 18, you're gone. You're either going to work or going to college, but you're out the door. And that was her role. I think that's exactly what motherhood should be about, especially for young boys, because you see a lot of women, moms, they want to hold on to these kids to the kids' detriment. You
Yeah.
see this with they don't want the kids to get their feelings hurt with
Yep.
keeping score on the soccer field, so every kid gets
Yep.
a trophy.
Yeah.
If the kid brings home a C from school, the teacher gets a phone call from mom, and mom's ticked off. I mean, if she's not ticked off at the kid, she's ticked off at the teacher for giving little Johnny a C.
Right.
And
Right.
the teacher's on the other end of the line. That would get paid enough for this. So it changes the grade from a C to a B. And, oh, thank
Right.
you, Johnny. You'll be so happy. And, Johnny then goes out into the real world and he's just crushed because he's never had to deal with any adversity.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I think people that are in those
what was
positions of
Jordan Peterson saying? They had some parents that wouldn't let their children go to a funeral.
yeah, because they were trying to save them from feeling bad and grieving, which is not
Mm-hmm.
healthy. Yeah, that's why there I don't think women at large are good in authority positions. I mean, I've just seen so many instances where it goes so wrong. It's like the majority of these women can't can't separate themselves from their workplace. Like they have this
Mm-hmm.
nesting, kind of energy, and they start treating these people like they're kids, and it's disgusting to me because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like
Who
why
was
why would you even treat your own children like that? These are grown ass adults.
who was the guy that wrote that book? I think it was called Boy Crisis. What was his name? I can't remember
Will
offhand.
Will Ferrell or
Yes, Will Ferrell.
Doctor
He had a great. Yeah,
Will
I think
Colin
that's right.
Colin
But
Farrell,
I think he's the actor. Isn't that Colin Farrell, the actor?
right? Maybe Will Ferrell,
But to pick up on your thought about women in authority, it's not their natural role.
right?
And he told a story about the dinner table and the difference between how a dad and a mom handles a young boy who
Mm,
wants ice cream after dinner. And so with the mom, the little boy would whine and complain. The mom would say, no, 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 you have to eat all of your vegetables before you get ice cream. And the
right.
kid was relentless. Oh, but mom, I ate most of my vegetables, and please, 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 please. And the mom would say, no, now Johnny, you gotta finish your vegetables. But mom, so finally mom acquiesces, breaks down, and says, she thinks to herself, you know what? It's only vegetables and it's only ice cream. I tell you what, Johnny, just this one time, we'll let you have ice cream without eating your vegetables. And of course,
Mm,
Johnny gives her the oh, thanks, mom, I love you, blah blah blah. And then they did the same test with the dads, and Johnny pulled the same stunt. Dad, I want ice cream, and Dad was like, Johnny, sorry, you got to eat your vegetables first. And
right.
Johnny tries to pull the same crap, but Dad, I want. And Dad cuts off Johnny and says, Johnny, listen, kid, all right, cool it. You know the rule. You eat your vegetables before you get ice cream. Now you ask me
Mm,
again, you're not going to get ice cream tonight, and you're not going to get ice cream for the rest of the month. So be
right.
quiet, eat your vegetables. You know how this program works. And
Yeah.
oh, okay, Dad. And he finishes the vegetables and gets his ice cream. Now, the reason why that was such an important story is because when Johnny learns that there's certain things you have to do before you get a reward, like ice cream,
Mm,
you have to do difficult things to get the reward. they found that when kids weren't taught that at home, they were the ones that were most likely to commit a lot of the sexual um, crimes, the assaults, because if they wanted to get up and be out with a woman, they wouldn't take the time or the steps to do you got to come up with a clever introduction, and then you have a safe cup of coffee, go to a safe lunch, maybe go on a date, blah, blah, blah. There's a process to get to the goods, if you will, the ice cream. But the boy that understood you have to eat your vegetables before ice cream, he understood that process. And so it was one of those things, just to feed back to what you were talking about, the authority position. That's
Mm.
generally speaking most of the time. Obviously, there's exceptions, but we're not talking about exceptions. That's what
Right.
men bring to the table. They bring that
Yeah.
authority, that discipline. That's how this works, and that's what's
Yeah.
sorely missing in society today. And you see that just with the problems that children raised from single mothers have. They're the most in prison. They're not doing well in school. Not doing financially in the place. It's a serious problem, and we could
Yeah.
fix a lot of this stuff with just having men more involved in the home. And it's not the man's fault. I mean, to be honest, the court system's set up against the guys, family
Right.
courts against the guys. These women are making up stories with parental alienation, and 80% now of divorces are filed by the women. They're destroying the families today for their own self-gratification, their own selfishness. And
Right.
I want to say that just to feed into what we were talking about a little bit earlier with the Jordan Peterson stuff, with the Exodus
Mm.
talk in that roundtable. I mean, what was your perspective on that roundtable with the guys?
I loved it. Actually, I saw that he uploaded episode 5 today, so I got to listen to that. No, I think it's great. I think if Bible study and in religion, we'll just call it, was explained like that to me growing up, if I didn't see a bunch of fucking hypocrites that were completely living contradictory to the word that they would say, I would have definitely
Mm-hmm.
probably stuck with more Christianity. I mean, I went on kind of a journey to because I felt like something was missing, and it seemed like so complicated and such a big book, and the way a lot of people taught it, I guess, or used it, it's like, oh, it's left up to your interpretation, so there was a lot of leeway for people to abuse it, like, you know abuse it for their own self-centered gains, so to speak. So it just kind of shunned
And I
me away.
experienced the same thing, and I don't think my experience was very similar. I think the majority of the country could think back to an experience or a time where either a pastor or did something to either manipulate or influence in a bad way to rip scripture right out of its meaning to have an
Right.
agenda that they wanted to push. And I
Right.
would go to church when I was younger, and I would sit there and I'd have a Bible open. And I remember specifically one time, just going to keep this, Jesus was, and I've got my Bible in front of me, and it says Jesus was wearing a blue shirt, and this didn't make any sense. I set an appointment to go talk to the pastor, and I said, and I'm in college, maybe senior in high school, freshman, sophomore in college, and I said, hey man, I love what you're teaching, great stuff. I had a question though. In the story you told, on Sunday last week, you said Jesus was wearing a red shirt. Right here it says blue. And he goes on to say, well, you've got to understand the cultural interpretation of back in the day, blah, blah, blah. I don't understand anything about that, but I do understand red and blue. And when you change the story, it changed the meaning of that story, which then changes your application and interpretation. He says, well, you've
Right.
got to understand the translations with the Greek and the Hebrew, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, I don't understand anything about that either, but I do understand red and blue. And you changed the story, and that changed the meaning. And then you know what he said, Amanda? He threw this at me. He said, well, RJ, if you can't see it my way, there's clearly sin in your life that you're not dealing with. And
Yeah.
I
Oh
about
yeah.
flew
Oh
off
yeah.
my chair to strangle that mother. I'm like, listen, you cock, whatever.
Yeah.
The sin in my life has got nothing to do with you freaking changing the story. I know I've got sin in my life. That's got a damn thing to do with you changing the story. So let's quit this nonsense. So I realized right out of the gate, most pastors are interested in three things and three things only. And this is sad to say, but it's the ABCs. They're interested in attendance, buildings, and cash. And they're going to preach to what they think is going to put attendance, butts in the seats, get a bigger building, and put cash in the coffers. And I knew the Bible was true. I just understood that. And I figured I'm going to have to learn this on my own, study it on my own, learn it on my own, find independent teachers that could teach it, because I couldn't trust a majority of these people in the Christian circles, which is sad to say. But it's our responsibility to learn. This Bible has been readily available since 1450 when Gutenberg created the printing press that's all over the world. And if you just read it like you were reading a letter from a friend or reading the newspaper, it's not that complicated if you just read it for yourself and don't overthink it. Just read it like you're reading somebody else's mail. We wouldn't read a newspaper article, and I live in Michigan. If the Detroit Tigers beat the Toronto Blue Jays in baseball, I mean, we would know we're not talking about an actual tiger eating a blue jay. We understand that's baseball. But what happens a lot of times in these church circles, you get people that come up with this cockamamie interpretive bullcrap. Well, if you look at it from this angle and this perspective, and there's a 10,000 facets on a diamond, now that's all nonsense. This is just meant to be read naturally and normally, just for what it is. And it's not that complicated. They tell you it's complicated because they're actually trying to rip the Bible out of your hands. They don't want you to know what it says, because then that way you're forced to go to the church, you're forced to go to the priest, you're forced to go to the leader to learn about this stuff and read it. And that's never what it was intended to do. Church today is a modern cultural phenomenon, and it's no different than any other franchise business today, whether it's McDonald's, Burger King, Little Caesars, it's all the same. Yeah. And I just read the Bible for yourself. That's the best thing I could say. And yeah, I thought that roundtable was really good. Do you have that video clip? I thought what he said about the midwives and Pharaoh.
Yes.
Oh my
gosh, I have it.
You do? Can you play that?
Yes, I do. I will play it.
Oh, look at that!
I loved it.
Look at that little meme.
I know. I had to take it for my thumbnail because I was like, "Oh, this is perfect." Thank you, RJ. Yeah, I'll play it.
I want to propose that there might be a very important narrative reason why the midwives are Hebrew in this case. And the reason I think it's a good lesson for us today, which is that the tyrant is empowering women to kill their men. That is what the tyrant is doing. Mm-hmm. And he's doing it in order to feminize the Hebrews. And I think that
no wonder you get in trouble all the time.
But I think that it's important, and the reason why they won't do it is because they fear God, is because they're able to see beyond the power that the Pharaoh is handing them at this moment. And I think that when we think that couldn't happen, like in a people, it's like, look around you, we're seeing it happen before our very eyes.
It's interesting because it also implies that, well, it's in the best interest of the tyrant to dispense with those figures who might pose a threat to the tyranny.
That's right.
And those would be tough men.
That would be the men.
Right, because they're the ones who keep the real tyrants at bay.
That's such an intelligent point.
Yeah, they're so right. They like to dispense with anybody who's against the tyrannical matriarchy, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's, from a broader spectrum, you look at the socialist agenda, the communist agenda, you get these compliant idiots that help. Whether today you look at Black Lives Matter or Antifa or any of these little foot soldiers that are trying to put forward the socialist agenda, the progressive agenda, they're the first ones that are going to get annihilated once socialism takes over, if it takes over, because they're expendable. And this is why it's so important, the work that you do, Mandy, is really calling to the carpet the nature and attributes of women, because you're a female, obviously, and you get it. And most men, we just don't get that. And men and women are different. We do need each other. And, some people won't like this, but I am a marriage guy. I was married for 21 years. My ex-wife wanted to be with another guy. The divorce process, family court was an absolute nightmare. I mean, I've got issues with my 3 daughters. It's insane, the process with that. However, I'm still a marriage guy. And guys need to understand that if you want to have children, that's the best environment to raise them. But you have to understand that marriage today, it's like walking across a minefield. It's like playing Russian roulette. There's one bullet, at least, in that chamber, and it's extremely dangerous. So you better have someone like Mandy around that can actually maybe filter through or have kind of a warning signal, say, hey, this is a crazy bitch, stay away from this one,
Well,
because these women are really good at deceiving these guys.
well, not only that is I don't think a lot of men understand female combat. Like I don't think they fundamentally understand that these women that are trying to like kill them and destroy them literally hate them, and they will do everything within their power to get rid of them. So it's like a lot of the tactics that they use are feminine tactics, reputation destruction and all the things. And a lot of times men don't even see it. They're like oblivious that they're even being attacked until it's already been in the works for a while and they get bombarded by a whole bunch of shit. It's like,
Right. And then that
guys,
too, is the or boys, I should say, light night, the simps, whatever you want to call them,
yeah,
and whisper in their ear and say, "Oh my gosh, did you see what this guy did?" and blah blah. And these guys that get deluded by these women who are manipulating them, all of a sudden, a dude's attacking another dude for
I
something a
know,
woman stirred up, and that's
I
the
know,
other thing that's just toxic with this. And
yeah,
men, we just have to be hyper aware of. You have to protect yourself at all times, and because it's toxic, and these, unfortunately, that's what these women have become. I mean, you see the Barbie movie, you see
mm,
what is that song by Meghan Trainor, Mother. You got who's that Miley Cyrus chick? I can buy myself flowers. Basically
mm,
the whole attitude is I don't need a man. Men are
right,
expendable,
right,
and well, okay, if that's what you want, we're going to go do our thing, and that's where the manosphere is just growing.
yeah,
And MGTOW movement, that's what it means. Go your own way, fellas. You see the passport bros, they've had enough of these Western women. They're just moving on. And now what is it? 50% of women that are 25 to 40 are going to die alone, childless and alone.
yeah.
Sad. Really sad.
Yeah, at least the passport bros are trying to, go to other countries where feminism hasn't completely, destroyed the culture. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's 167 countries that this radical lesbian feminist network that I've been following for a while has, uh, they're so proud of being involved in 167 different countries and spreading their dogma, right? In
Yep.
recruiting. And it's like,
Sad.
oh man, 167 countries this fucking cancer has spread to.
Yeah. And the other thing that's interesting, just to touch back on that clip that you played,
Mm,
is that men and women were different. We need each other, and we definitely have different natures and attributes. And the tyrannical state, if you will, the United States right now, we have empowered and weaponized women today to go
yeah,
after men.
yeah,
And they're doing it. And they're really going after men. Men are falling behind in a lot of categories, but they're waking up. They're a little slow on the uptake, but they're finally getting it, and they're starting to go their
right,
own way, do their own thing, focus on themselves, focus on their mission, adventures, blah blah blah.
yeah,
But what the women fail to understand, they don't understand the basic nature of men and women, and they don't understand the nature of the state, because the same way Pharaoh used the midwives to emasculate the Israelites by killing the boys. That's what
right,
these feminists are doing today. They are trying to emasculate and destroy masculinity. And it's
yeah,
the good, strong, dangerous men that are going to be the only ones that are going to protect the women from the tyrannical state, because the state has no limits to its appetite. It will never stop taking away your freedoms, taking your taxes with inflation. It is trying to destroy and control us. And it's good, strong, dangerous men that are the only hope to saving these women. And these women are doing everything they can to destroy these guys today.
right.
so blind by what they're doing.
Right.
And they say they don't need men. You're going to wake up one day and realize, whoa, we do need men. And where are they? It's like, well,
Yeah.
it's like C.S. Lewis said, you castrated the horse and said, hey, go be fruitful. It's like, yeah, it doesn't
Right.
work. He doesn't have the gonads anymore.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my calling. I want to reach out to these young men before they get chewed up by the feminist world and guys being raised by single mothers or whatever, and just encourage them. Hey, man, let's get on a mission. Let's get on a program. Let's take care of you first, and let's go after this stuff. And young men, you shouldn't be doing anything less than working. You need to be working 60 hours a week, spending very little time even in yourself, building, and focus on you. These don't worry about it. It's like a bus or a business deal. There'll be another one that comes around. So don't even worry about it. And they just aren't. They're not taught that. They're
Yeah.
attachment, which is natural and normal. And check. It'll destroy them with a bad marriage. It's going to destroy them with unwanted children out of wedlock, and they got to keep a wrinkle in it.
Yeah. Yeah, this little corporate experiment has been quite interesting, RJ.
In what way?
Oh, just immersing myself in an environment that's super toxic and watching how different people behave. And it's kind of sad how subdued a lot of the men have become when it comes to dealing with women in the workplace. But it is nice to see these little glimmers of hope when one actually will stand up and be like, no, this is not okay. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, because I see there's three things that are really pushing forward with this agenda. Actually, four, if I think about it. Obviously, the government with the court system.
Right.
Obviously, the universities. And now we're seeing it with the corporations big time with the DEI, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program. And this is where a lot of my little church friends are not going to like me at all. But it's the church, the weak pastors, the bad seminaries that have been producing weak, watered down, anti-biblical theology that has not only created an environment for this toxic feminism to take root and grow, they're providing a fertilizer as well. And it's church by definition is feminine. And Jesus is called church as its bride. So by definition, church would be feminine. But feminine is different from feminism and feminists, and we need to be crystal clear on that. There is a hierarchy, and there are different roles that we play, and we are equal, but we have different attributes and different roles, and that is just sorely missing in society today. And it's like we see everything that's bad about men plastered all over the news and the media, movies, music, and we just see everything good about women. And hey, how about a little equal time?
You know what? I would argue that they're even taking what's bad about women and trying to convince people that that's good. Like, that's way off. They're not even displaying the goodness of women. They're displaying mostly and promoting women behaving like men, which is fucking toxic. Like,
yeah. But you know where you see that the most prevalent right now is, Amanda, when you have some fat water buffalo who at best is a 3 or a 4 on a 10-point scale, and they talk about body positivity and, oh, I'm a 10 and everybody's 10. You need to go, girl. And you just, that's the absolute epitome of delusion.
yes.
I mean, absolute craziness is going on. But that just illustrates they're celebrating something that's horrible. It's unhealthy. It's a lack of all sorts of stuff, and they celebrate it. It's a good thing. It's like, no, it's not a good thing.
They celebrate it when you're talking about Lizzo. They react negatively when you try to say they look like Lizzo. Like, they don't. It's like, it's almost what I get from it, because I watch these women and I'll watch their hypocrisy and their fucking contradictions, and I'll watch them applaud things that they would never fucking do with their own lives. And I always wonder what fundamentally is behind that. Is it a sense of like, oh, if we have this person, we can show off, at least I know my life isn't that bad. Like, there has
I
to
don't know.
be,
There's something about that. I think it's probably has something to do with the sisterhood kind of sticking together. The other thing is what you said earlier is women fight viciously,
yeah,
and you don't want to get on the bad side of these women, and so they understand women's nature better
yeah,
than we do.
yeah,
I learned I got a firsthand glimpse. This is my first real good indoctrination to women when I went to school in college. I was at Indiana University, and I was hired to be the houseboy. I lived in a sorority house my senior year in college. I lived with, I think it was 65 women, and my job was to clean the kitchen every night. And I got to know these women. I don't want to say intimately, but I was like their brother. And they would open up after a month or two living there with them. And I had keys to the kitchen, so they always would knock on my door in the middle of the night when they came home from the bar. Open the door, we want food. But I learned so much about women, and they were worse than the guys in the fraternity house in every way, Amanda.
yeah,
Every way. The stuff they talked about, the stuff they did. I mean, I was absolutely shocked about how these women acted. And my mom, she was Miss Prim and Proper, the country club, but women don't do that, blah, blah. That was my upbringing. So to be exposed to that in college was a real eye opener. And, but yeah, women understand women's nature better than anyone. And I
yeah.
remember talking to a real successful entrepreneur in Grand Rapids a few years ago, and we were talking about the whole equal pay for equal work, which is a nonsense item and issue. It's been
Right.
completely debunked. But my point to her was, I said, "Now let me ask you a question, sweetheart. You're a successful entrepreneur. You've got multiple businesses. You've got the private jet. You've got the house here, and fancy neighborhood, the house on Lake Michigan, blah blah blah. Let me ask you a question. You've got a big important project that you need to have done. It's not like a major, like a president needs to do the project, but a good solid middle management position for this project. It's going to take, a couple, 2-3 years. Are you more likely to put a woman in charge of that big project or a man? And she fired right back. That's not even a fair question, because she knew the answer.
Yeah.
She wouldn't want to hire a woman in that role. And she said, it shouldn't penalize the woman if she wants to have a child. I said, this has nothing to do with punishing the woman. This is your business.
Right.
You are responsible for the lives and livelihood of this business being financially viable. You want to put the most competent, dependable person that in all likelihood is going to stick around for the next 3 years.
Yes.
Because she knew, like everyone else knows, if you put in a woman that's 25, 27, 28 years old, single or married, no children, there's a real good probability she's going to want to have a baby, which is
Right.
great. She should.
Which she should, yeah.
Absolutely. But she's running a business, and she knows once that woman gets pregnant, she's going to be distracted big time.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to have additional, neonatal, doctor's appointments, and then you've got the baby, and then you're going to have maternity leave. And, yeah, great. Women, go for it. But again,
Right.
she knew the answer to that question. That's why she got so mad, because we're dealing with reality. We're not dealing with this delusional nonsense Kool-Aid that they're pumping down these young women's throats today. And it's just destroying these girls. And it's so heartbreaking, because you get these girls that are in their prime, in their young 20s, and they're just pissing the prime of their life away to live their best life and to party and do whatever. It's like, my goodness. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And then they grow up and they're 30 years old, and then now they want to have a family and settle down. And they're like, well, where's that
Right.
good man?
Right.
Really?
Right. Yeah, there's somebody new in the chat.
Of course, it's the man's fault.
Oh, it's always the man's fault, right? Yeah, Gil, I don't.
But you know what I love about that?
Yeah.
Whatever you blame owns you.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Whatever you blame owns you. Because you don't take responsibility. When you don't take responsibility, there's zero accountability. You will continually be a slave to that for the rest of your life. You can never grow. If you're a female, blaming the man or blaming the patriarchy or blaming, the power structure, capitalism in the United States, you're going to be stuck in that the rest of your life and be one miserable, miserable lady. And that's why
Yeah.
women they've never been less happy than they are right now. One
Yeah.
in four are on some kind of head med, which means they got mental issues, which we all know.
Yeah. Oh, we
So,
know.
but they're the least happy than they've ever been.
Yeah, and I've seen that. Here, let me make sure Gil can comment. There you go, Gil. No, I've seen that. It's funny because it's like they're fat too. It's like why are these miserable? Like, wouldn't you think if they lost a bunch of weight, that would be like half the battle? They would be less miserable if they took care of their body. Like,
100%.
there just seems to be some consistencies with
I mean, I
feminists,
just
and
know it I know it in myself. You know,
yeah,
if I'm not running like I should be or in the gym like I should be, and I, put on a couple extra pounds because I've had too much, Giordano's pizza in Chicago or whatever
yeah,
on the road, I just don't feel at the top of my game. And I get a little like, oh man, I feel like, Jabba the Hutt. I need to get back on the program. And then
right.
as soon as you do, the endorphins and the epinephrine, all this, the feel good chemicals start flowing through your body again. And all of a sudden, you're a new man. And
Yeah.
so 100%, just stop shoveling that stuff in your face and get on the Stairmaster. It ain't complicated.
Well, in I think the difference between men and women, like your guy friends will be quick to tell you, like, "Hey, dude, what's up with the 10 pounds you've gained?" You know, as where in society, the majority of women are fucking applauding each other for being fucking fat asses.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
I swear these women really hate each other. I mean,
Of course.
how else can you see it if they lie to each other constantly? They fucking hate each other, I think.
It could be. I don't know their motives. I don't know their thought process, but based on their actions,
Yeah.
um, you'd have to conclude that that's probably pretty close to the truth.
Yeah.
I remember my dad, though. My dad, when I was growing up, he told my mom one night, that, Sharon, you're looking a little hippie. And I was like, Dad? But my dad would call her out, and hold her accountable. But,
Yeah.
that was how, I don't want to say that's the way it was back in the day, but there's some basic things that guys need to understand, and that until you get clear about your mission and what you're doing in life, you're going to make that woman your mission, and you are going to be miserable, and that's a problem. And so it all comes down to this: either you're going to train her, or she's going to train you. It goes the same thing with animals and children. Either you train them, or they're going to train you, and that's how this works. And hopefully you have a woman that can help train you as well, because we all have blind spots. But you don't want a woman that's going to be, constantly shaming you or belittling you or treating you with disdain. You
Right.
just show them the door.
Right.
But the best thing to do is, if you get clear about your mission, and again, I don't care if you want to be a dairy farmer or a hedge fund manager, it doesn't matter. Because you want to be a dairy farmer, just say, hey, this is my program. I'm looking for a dairy farmer, wife. There's some woman that wants to be a part of that program. And then he can
Right.
invite her into that world, say, hey, would you help me become the best, dairy farmer, in Montana or whatever. And it's an invitation, and she can say yes or no. But what that does is it sets up the hierarchy right there. He's got a mission: hedge fund manager, dairy farmer, entrepreneur, whatever. And that's his mission. And he's invited her into that world. He's focused on that mission. And now she is also part of that mission, helping him achieve that mission. And that's what submission is. That's being under a mission. But the guy has to be clear about his mission and what he wants to do, because then he can share that to the world as an invitation. We're going to have an invitation to this party. This is my mission. You want to be a part of it or not? And if it's a no, no big deal. There's another one that will. You don't care because you're so clear on your mission and what you want to do. And that's what your orbit should be around, your mission. Some big, hairy, audacious goal. Pick it. Doesn't matter. Just decide. And if you don't like it later on, change it. But pick something. But it can't be a female. It cannot be a female. Their orbit is just too small, and it's going to make them feel miserable too, because they don't want to be the center of your world either. They want
No,
to be
they
with a
don't.
man. They want to be on a man that's on a different orbit, that's doing something else. Now they don't want to
Yeah.
be with a guy that's got a whole bunch of different women. They want a
Right.
guy that's on a mission and he's got one focus, romantic focus. Even though he could, I love Jordan Peterson when he says the idea of meekness. Being meek is that you have a sword that you could use at any time and just destroy somebody with your sword, but you don't use it. You keep your
Right.
keys in its case, and that's what meek. But you don't use it, and that's the most attractive guy for these women, is that he could get all sorts of other women, but he chooses not to. And it's the same thing with the woman; she could get other men, and she chooses not to. And you get that kind of dynamic going. It all starts with the guy and his mission. Get clear about it and just go after it, and see what happens.
Yeah. And there are a lot of women that get, I think, resentful and want to destroy men in their mission because they're jealous.
Yep.
So
Very
that
much
is
so.
something you have to watch out for sure.
No question. But we do understand the main reason for feminism and the feminist movement is, at least from my perspective, is to give these fat, ugly, toxic women a platform.
Yeah.
Because without that whole feminist movement, we wouldn't listen, we wouldn't care. And
I know, and that's what I don't understand about, like, when I look out and I see all these crazy bitches open their mouths and people actually listen to them, I'm like, why? Why? Why exactly?
yeah, it's
Like
not.
a lot of people are conditioned to respond and they think they have to listen to them.
Yeah. Well, they do get loud and obnoxious and
Yes.
crazy, and so
Yes.
you just you want to shut them up. I mean, we've all seen these videos on TikTok or Instagram, or the reels on YouTube Shorts. These people going crazy because their Taco Bell didn't come out right, or their plane got
Yes.
canceled, and it's almost invariably a female, and
Yes.
they go berserk. So
Yeah.
men know that. I mean, when men fight, if I get into an argument with a buddy, we know that at some point that could turn violent. We know that either one of us could start throwing fisticuffs right away.
Yeah.
And so we have this built-in, check and balance. We don't want to push the line too far, or it's going to get physical. Well, we've been conditioned. You don't hit a woman. You don't hit a woman. You don't hit, for no reason. You never hit a woman. And women know that. And women will absolutely come unglued, yelling, screaming, slapping. And the guy, he knows if he retaliates in any way physically, he's going to jail. And if you're a black man, especially, you're going to jail. But a white guy, you're going to jail too. When the police get called, somebody's going to jail, and it's going to be the guy, and he knows that. So he doesn't want it to escalate. Say, hey, you know what? You're right, baby. He'll do the honorable thing. He'll be stone faced. He'll be silent. Come back, fight another day, and just let it go. I experienced this going through the divorce. Is that the women would try to pick at you, and get you to have some kind of an outburst, or and then they got you. Well, he did this. And I'm like, yeah, but what did you do way before? I mean, let's talk about the 15 minutes where you were just and then you're like,
right,
Sean Connery. Connery video. Yeah, every now and then you need to give her a good little slap.
Right? And he
got canceled for that.
I know, right? What was it? Barbara Walters interviewed him.
Yes, exactly. But it's funny. I mean, it's not funny. You should never, obviously hit a woman or anybody if you could help it. But to say that there's never a reason to hit a woman, I mean, come on. It's not like the guy. Hey, this woman's just sitting there, and he just walks up to her and, you bitch. That doesn't happen. There's usually an escalation. There's an argument, and women know how to fight verbally way better than men do. They know how to go right at the jugular, right at the heart, and they'll talk about, all of the insecurities and things that you shared intimate stories, that you've been together for a while, and they'll use that stuff and just go right at you. And you're like, really? You brought that up? And so men know that, and they don't want to go to jail, and so they'll listen. They'll just try to keep it, quiet for, the best they can. And I don't know, it is what it is. But the whole idea is they want to emasculate men, and they're doing that with the ways we talked about. They're also doing it with inflation. They're doing it with higher taxes. They're doing it with destroying the small businesses and COVID, the entrepreneurial spirit. They're destroying it by this over focus on safety. Be safe, put on a mask.
Yeah.
Be safe. That's a feminine thing. That's women want safety and security. Men, we're the adventurers. We want the freedom. And freedom and safety don't go together. You have to give up some safety to get freedom. The paradox, however, is interesting, that if you have freedom and you're nurturing that and you're growing that, the entrepreneur, and you're really leaning into that freedom aspect, that ultimately is what's going to give you more safety and security. But the women are generally so short-sighted with that and emotional. It's all about safety. They want to wrap their kid in bubble wrap, put a bike helmet on them. And I think that's one of the main problems in society is bike helmets.
Yes.
If they would have stopped putting bike helmet, it's supposed to hurt when you do something stupid. When you fall and hit, it should hurt. You go, wow, not going to do that again. But they're wrapped in bubble wrap and all this equipment. They do something stupid. They're like, well, that didn't hurt. Let's do the next thing. And they
Well, that just goes back to the mothers mothering improperly. It's like they don't set up these guys for success. They try to, and I've seen it before. Actually, one of my kid's friends, his mom's the worst. Like, it's like she does everything in her power to get him to not leave. Like, it's really screwed up how incompetent / malicious it is, because I see it from like a malicious perspective. It's like he's the oldest and she doesn't want him to fly the nest because he is very responsible for a lot of the younger siblings. So it's like she does things to sabotage his flight, and I'm like, ooh, this crazy bitch pisses me off, because I see how much he struggles doing this stuff on his own.
They're called the son husbands, and that's an example of the devouring mother that's actually eating her son for her own satisfaction. It's just it's absolute child abuse.
It is,
and that's the problem. Everybody would say, "Oh, somebody beat the kid. That's child abuse." No, it's the more serious child abuse, which is parental alienation. What a mother will do to her children to
cripple them.
What is exactly? And then with parental alienation, it's so bad. Going through a divorce process is that you've got a loving parent where the other parent has turned their children against the loving parent for their own satisfaction, and they delude themselves in doing that. It's so toxic, and I'd love to see more child abuse, and it's how to even do that. But that's just strong divorce process, and it's just sad. And it's 90% of the men. It's the women that are doing this.
Yeah.
And the guys. That's the only reason I bring that up. I love women. People will say, "Oh, RJ, you hate women." No, I love women. I hate feminism. I hate feminists. That I hate that methodology. And the only reason I bring that up is that Sun Tzu, Art of War, said that if you understand yourself and you understand your enemy, you don't have to fear the outcome of 1,000 battles.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't understand your nature, men, and you don't understand the female nature, you are walking into a minefield without a map. You won't just have one bullet in that chamber, loaded revolver, and you're toast. So you have to understand their nature. And gentlemen, you are not going to change their nature. If you want any hope at all, you need to talk to a man.
Well, once I get all these crazy bitches round up into the crazy bitch boot camps.
Yes, men, you cannot corral them. Yeah, get Crazy
Oh,
Bitch Boot Camp coming soon.
you know what
Oh my
though?
gosh, you should see
Hold,
the questions we have for the Crazy Bitch Boot Camp. They are awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
You know what's funny? There's a psychologist that I've been following for many years, and he just actually. Hold on, I want to play this. I was going to play it on my last one, but I couldn't. I couldn't figure out where to slip it in. But this is perfect. You got to listen to this. This is a complete. This is somebody that works
All
in the
right.
field now.
Actually, look, psychopaths' body language determined by the environment. Psychopath is goal oriented, so he reshapes his body. He shapeshifts. He molds his body. Yeah, like this molten metal in the Terminator franchise. So he molds and shapes his body to convey messages. He uses his body for overt signaling. Actually, what the FBI said, and I fully concur, the psychopath communicates mostly through his body, through his body language, so that you don't pay attention to what he is saying. Psychopath's body and body language are environmentally determined. And this applies to the narcissist as well. When the narcissist, for example, finds himself in a threatening environment, coercive environment, um, frightening environment, everything changes. The narcissist loses his narcissism. Suddenly, he is not abrasive, he is not antisocial, he is nice, he's kind, he's attentive, he's compassionate. When the narcissist, for example, finds himself in prison, there's no way you could tell that he's a narcissist. He's a totally transformed person. Same in the military, same in a hospital, same in a life-threatening situation, same in the throes of a life crisis. So the narcissist's body language and the narcissistic style the behaviors that comprise narcissism. These are cued, they are reactive to environmental cues. Now, this raises fascinating questions. For example, if a narcissist ceases to be a narcissist in prison, why would we consider him a narcissist outside prison? And if a psychopath fully controls his impulses in a variety of environments and situations, why would we say that he is defiant? In short, narcissism and psychopathy appear to be more role play, kind of role play or a choice rather than a personality disorder. And this is this is an issue which puts in doubt, casts in doubt the whole post-traumatic scenario. Because people in the throes of trauma, people in the aftermath of trauma, complex trauma, CPTSD, or a one-time event which induces post-traumatic stress disorder, they can't control their behaviors. The behaviors are not modifiable. There's no willpower involved there. And yet the narcissists and psychopaths can. So, you see, body language in this case is a philosophical issue. It raises important queries and important questions regarding the very fundamentals of these two disorders. If these are role play disorders, if these are simply dysfunctional antisocial roles, if this is play acting, if this is the derivative of thespian skills on a theater stage, then maybe we should approach narcissists and psychopaths differently.
Yes. I know Billy's in the chat. He's more
But
of a
Amanda, This
Huh.
this goes back to what we were talking about exactly earlier. Is that
Yep.
when a guy is clear on his mission, he's the one that's setting up the game. He's the one that's setting up the game board, if you will, and he
Yeah.
invites her into that field of play, if you will. Okay. Now she's either going to get on board and play a role or not. But if he is not clear about what role he is to play and she is to play, and if she's not willing to get on board with that, of course there's going to be manipulation going on because she's way better than he is. That's
Right.
why it's so important for him to get clear on that. We see that with that TV show. Was it Nanny 911? Where the kids are absolutely terrors and the parents are pulling their hair out. I don't know what to do. And you get in this, the old granny from, or the nanny from the, out in the boondocks in England, and she shows up and like Mary Poppins, whips these kids into shape in
Yeah.
short order.
Yeah.
And again, either you train them or they're going to train you. And if you've
Yeah.
got the narcissist involved, you've allowed that to happen because whatever you allow, you have approved that. And so what you allow, you get to decide that. And you just need to be clear. And it's real hard for men to think straight around women. They get stupid for some reason, and they know that. But men need to know that. They think they got it all figured out, but they're stupid. When women are around, they're pretty smart when it's just men. But when you introduce a female, and you see that, I'm sure, in female circles as well. You get a bunch of women together, you introduce a dude, the whole dynamic changes in the group. The men, they literally get stupid around women.
Yeah. Well, what he was talking about with the role playing. Yeah, I know Billy's all about the people are a certain way and they can't change type of thing, but I've been arguing, I mean, because feminists are all fucking narcissists, period, the end. Like, I have not seen a single one that doesn't tick very high on the scale of narcissistic traits. Borderline also. Like, they're all an amalgamation of various crazy bitch, we'll call it, personality disorders. But it's like, they're only that way because society positively reinforces this shit. So if you remove them from a society that praises them for being crazy bitches and rewards them for it, or if society just automatically was like, hey, we're no longer going to be promoting and creating more crazy bitches, like we need to just discipline them, like in a crazy bitch boot camp, their behavior would change.
But men in society won't do that. That needs to come from women, you
Yeah.
and older women. The problem, what's really fostered and made this feminism explode, is it's these older women. They are the ones that should be guiding and correcting these young women, and they are silent on this matter. It's really, really toxic.
Yeah.
Crazy bitch boot camp.
Well, and I've run into it. I'm like, I don't
bitch boot camp at all.
But I've run into the same thing with men tolerating stuff. Like, I've seen instances where I've seen like a dude tolerate some crazy bitchery, and I don't think they know that they don't have to do that. So I'd say something to a dude like, hey, you're only hurting the situation by reinforcing that. Just stop. And it changes. But I don't think enough men have permission, we'll just call it, to have boundaries and enforce fucking boundaries.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
It again goes all the way back to the original part of this discussion. It's the emasculation of men in society. And they do that in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
All sorts of ways. They're good at it. But I see more and more and more men just opting out. Like, nope, you go do your crazy bitchery stuff. I'm going to do my own thing. They're more getting into the trades. They're becoming entrepreneurs. I notice probably 90% of the guys on the road where I am, they're truck drivers, and there's a reason for that. It's kind of monotonous and it's good money, but I think one of the main things is it's peaceful. We don't have to deal with corporate nonsense.
Right.
We don't have to deal with all of the craziness going on, and it's peace and quiet. You don't have to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's an adventure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the corporate scenes, I don't get it. I ask a lot of why questions and I don't get straight answers.
But
And it's
you got to
funny.
just, yeah, but I'm telling you, you go back to the original clip, Amanda, we are literally talking about tyranny, and Pharaoh
Yes.
owns these companies.
Yeah.
They're all owned by like 3 or 5 big, equity firms like BlackRock, and there's like a handful of them. But they all own like 70, 80, 90% of a majority of corporations. And so all you have to do is go all the way to the top, follow the money. They're the ones that are pushing all of these fascist policies in place, whether it's or this DEI, the diversity, equity, inclusion nonsense. It's from the
But I
top,
look
and it's the tyranny, it's the pharaoh.
but I look at who's making them do it, and it's women, it's feminists who are making them do it. They almost take their companies and their fucking livelihoods and hold them hostage. And it's like, you must do this or else your business will not survive. That's why
And,
I
and it's,
see the pharaoh role is more of it's the feminist spirit. Like that's the tyrannical nature that we're contending with in our
right.
society.
No, you're exactly right, and I don't think you realize how right you are. There's really only one conspiracy theory. It's not even a theory, conspiracy in the world,
Mm.
and that is everything that's in the Bible that says is good. The world, or this spirit that you're talking about, says it's bad. And if the Bible says it's bad, this spirit, or this entity, this world you're talking about, says it's good.
Yes.
And really, if you want to filter it down, you're like, well, RJ, you're too preachy. I don't want to talk Bible, God, and all this stuff. So fine, eliminate that. Let's just ignore the Bible for a second. Let's just talk about the truth,
Yeah.
period. What is true? What is actually undeniable, the facts, true, with a perspective long term over years? Is this going to work? Is it sustainable or not? And if once you get to that point, then you have accountability, you have responsibility, you got that discipline to keep things
Right.
in check. And all
Right.
of those things are gone right now because it's all about feeling. I want to feel
Yes.
good. I want to
Feelings.
celebrate my diversity, my delusion.
Yes. I had a crazy HR bitch literally tell me it was my opinion that men are physically stronger than women. Like, she said that face to face. Like, I looked her in the eye when she said that.
Here's a funny story. Money order to make a deposit today. And there's this little lady in front of me, and she had this, couldn't lift the box. And I said, would you like me to carry that to the car for you? And she said, oh my gosh, thank you. You're so kind. That would be wonderful. And I'm like, yeah, I need men. But the gal behind the, thrusty, but well, I don't need a man. I can change the oil in my car and I can fix transmissions. And I'm the one that brought the box up here to begin with. I don't need no man. And the
Right?
little old lady was like, thank you. I'd carry that sucker right out.
Yeah.
But it's just delusional. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
one woman that could lift the box, but nobody else could. Okay, so there's an
Right.
exception to the rule. That doesn't change the rule. The rule's the
Well,
rule.
I know. This crazy bitch even brought up some weightlifter boss of hers that she had one time as an example of women being able to lift more than men. I was like, still, that's not the majority. Like,
Right.
are we really having this conversation? In my mind, I'm like, does this company know that this, like, how crazy and delusional this bitch is that they're, paying 6 figures and having the authority whether people can keep their jobs or not? That's a weird thing.
Yep. But again, it's like a hard drive in a computer.
Yeah.
She has been loaded with a software program from being a little girl about this is the way this is, and then when she sees something or hears something, she hasn't even thought about it. It's just been something that's been programmed, and she's like turning this crank in her head, like da, 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 da. I'm going to say this to this response and this to this response, and you can use all the logic and reason you want. it's going to fall on deaf ears. The only thing that really works is either a good amount of emotion back and feelings back, or pain. It's really the only thing that works. Pain is a great megaphone.
Yeah.
People wake up when they start getting pain
Yeah.
and some kind of suffering. Then they're like, wow, you know what? I hit my head on that. I should probably duck next time.
You know what, though?
You'll change.
But when she was telling me things, I could tell by the look on her face and looking into her eyes that she didn't even fucking believe it either. I mean, there was one point where she opened her mouth and spouted some dogma, and I just looked at her, and then she just kind of went like that, and I was like, this crazy bitch doesn't even believe the words that are coming out of her mouth. So then I'm like, why do they say this shit? Why do they enforce this agenda if they don't even fucking believe it?
Nobody does, but that's when socialism and the whole tyranny has really taken root, where people know that you have to say certain things. The political correct agenda, you have to say that. That's why the main reason why all of the Manosphere channels, Hammerhand's a great example. Every time he gets to a certain number of followers, the dude gets freaking canceled. They shut down his channel. He's got to start a whole new channel.
Yeah.
And that's why they censor all this stuff, because they don't want somebody shining the light on the truth to what's going on with their delusional idiocy. And it's obvious. Everybody sees it. But they're just living in this la-la land, drugged up. They're all out of the head meds.
Yeah. Yeah, her daughter's also in HR. I'm like, feminists breed more feminists.
Yeah.
I didn't hear her mention any husband, though.
No. But I do see some glimmers of hope. I see guys obviously waking up, smelling the Pop-Tarts. I'm starting to see more and more women. They're like, okay, this is crazy. I don't want this. You start to see more and more of that. It's a trickle. It's not like a floodgate has opened up yet.
Right.
But I do see some glimmers of hope with that. And I think the COVID brought some of that about. I mean, as our economy gets worse and worse and worse, you're going to see even more and more of that, because a lot of these jobs that women have, quite frankly, they're not necessary. They're made up jobs. I mean,
right.
They're going to be out of work, and they're the ones that have a majority of the credit card debt, the majority of the college debt, and they're going to be struggling. And so when they're out of work and they don't have the money, all of a sudden, that dude that's working that, driving that UPS truck,
right?
Hey man, how you doing?
Right. Right.
They're gonna all of a sudden they're gonna be like, well, maybe I would like someone to help out with that.
Yeah.
And it's which is really sad. But again, it takes pain for people to change, generally speaking. But
yeah, the AI is replacing so much. They're actually there's dudes using AI on like OnlyFans to
create women, fake women.
Yeah. Yep.
I was I think it was San Francisco or Seattle airport a couple of weeks ago. Barista that could make lattes and whatevers, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh my goodness, how many women that work at Starbucks could be put out of work just like that, with a robot making the coffees. I mean, that's what stupid job.
Yeah.
There's one to think, you don't have to be creative, you don't have, but it's a dumb thing. It only can do what has been programmed to do. And so if you're a dude or a dudette that has some creativity and can come up with things and solve problems that are unique, those jobs are never going out of style, because AI will never be able to do that. It's artificial for sure, but it's not intelligent. It's just spewing out the nonsense that somebody already posted online before. I've tested it. I've created some blog posts and I've written a few books, and I'll use AI to say, okay, like if I'm in Livingston and I wanted to write a blog post on Livingston, Montana, I'd go into ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, write a blog post on Livingston, Montana, and that'll give me the bones of an article to start. So it'll do a lot of the research for me, which is a huge time saver. But I got to read through it, because a lot of it's woke nonsense. You're like, no, that's not right. No, that, and then you add your own flavor to it, and then that's what I see it's good for. It helps speed up that research process with stuff that you could do on your own by searching the internet, but it's not intelligent. And I remember when I was driving Uber, people would say, "Oh, are you concerned about self-driving cars?" And, bless you.
Thank you. Sorry.
And I said, "Yeah, I'll be worried about a self-driving car as soon as they can develop a cell phone that doesn't drop a call." And you see these Teslas crashing all the time, and
Oh, yeah.
you're not gonna put me in that thing. Hell no.
Yeah.
I think it's just a big hype to me. They have automated pilots when get on the airplane. I'm not going to get on a plane if there's not a pilot on there. They're like, yeah, we got AI flying the plane today. I'd be like, hell no. Now maybe it's 90% is being flown by AI anyway. I'm still not going to get on it unless there's a pilot there. And it needs to be two pilots in case one of them, ate the fish on an airplane.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't get Chat GPT to write me up anything about how feminism is destroying society. It just kept giving me feminist responses and talking about how dangerous of an idea that was.
Yeah, no, it's just all woke propaganda. So
yeah. Yeah.
What else do we talk about, Amanda? We could go on and on. We have all sorts of clips.
I know. What else do you want to share?
I don't know. I said I was going to do some more research, and I didn't. I was so excited about that clip with Jordan.
Yeah,
I told you earlier. I'll tell you. This is how I originally heard about Jordan Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
I say 2014 to 2019 in that range, and 5 years I had 10,000 riders in my car, and I would just tell stories, kind of how we're talking today. Depending on who got in my car, I would figure out their story, what they're all about, and just say, okay, I'm going to make your time with me the best part of your day. You're going to leave here thinking, wow, man, what a great guy.
Yeah.
I was the highest rated Uber guy in West Michigan.
Right.
And so one day, all these people were saying, hey, man, do you have any content? Do you have a YouTube channel? I want to hear more. How do I get your stuff? I have no YouTube channel. I'm not doing that. No, you just have to get another ride with me. Well, one day, I picked up a psychologist, and I was telling stories, waxing eloquently, little parables and whatnot. And he kind of cocked his head. And he's like, man, you sound a lot like Jordan Peterson. And I said, who? And he goes, Jordan Peterson. You don't know who Jordan Peterson is? Never heard of the dude. He goes, you gotta be kidding me. I said, no. So sure enough, I watching his YouTube videos, and I was like, well, that son of a gun stealing all my material. I couldn't believe it. I had written a book in 2009 about marriage, and I said the main thing is that for guys, if you really want money and sex, the best thing you can do is get married and stay married. The question is, what are you doing to become that man worth marrying? And it was about taking responsibility in the 6 areas of your life: mind, body, spirit, work, money, and relationships. And just pay attention to those ideals. I had a website created. I'm married at the time. I was married for 21 years. And I couldn't say get your shit together because that's not real appropriate. So my website was getyourpoopinagroup.com. And I'm speaking around the country and doing book signings and all that. And wouldn't you know it, the previous administration, my ex-wife now, she wants a divorce. She wants to be with another guy. I'm like, well, son of a gun, destroyed my platform.
Right.
So I'm reworking the book. I'm going to re-release it. I've written a couple of books since then. But I have to add the feminist agenda. I have to add the nature of men. I have to bring up the danger and risks of marriage because they are really, really scary for men today. The biggest thing we haven't talked about is the paternity test. I just saw France just denied you can't do 30% of children born are not the father. The father's not the biological father when they do the paternity test. And it's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And you would think, everybody would think, wow, we've got to make that right. Not at all. Pharaoh, the tyrannical state, they don't want to change that because there's a lot of money in it. And the federal government gives pitching funds to the state. So they just want to make sure these guys stay on the hook with child support. And it's devastating to these dudes. Not just emotionally and mentally, but financially, it crushes them.
Yeah.
It's so toxic. And men need to be prepared. They need to be aware of that. That's the thing. They need to be aware. Yeah. And I don't remember the dude that said, marry idealistically and women marry and date opportunistically, and I think there's some real truth in that. But men need to be very, very aware of what's going on. And they need a roadmap. They need a map where the mines are in the minefield. And you need somebody to help them clean out some of the bullets in the gun if they're going to play Russian roulette by getting married. It's no
Right.
joke. Suicide rate is 4 times higher for men after divorce than women. And it's a matter of life and death. And they need to look at it like that. And it's
Yeah.
really sad because, Amanda, let's say you and I wanted to get married. We could hop a plane and go to Vegas and have Elvis marry us for $20 in a half hour. Well,
Right.
that's a binding contract.
Mm-hmm.
And, if we want to run each other through the ringer and, bend me over and get divorced, great.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? It's just, men need to be very aware. It's just a very dangerous thing to do. But that's what good men do. We do dangerous things, but we don't do them stupidly. We pay attention and do things the right way and try to swing the odds in our favor the best way we can, and mitigate as many of the risks as we can, and ask questions, and then you take the risk. The time to worry is before you place the bet, not after you spin the wheel. So
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are very unprepared. And like in your situation, you already had that book and you thought you had this roadmap lined out, but you didn't you didn't take into account the societal
My fault.
natural disaster of
My fault.
feminism. Did you know about feminism though, and then how this death cult like indoctrinates new members?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I know it now, and I see it in her mother. I saw it in her grandmother. Now I see it crystal clear for what it is, the whole feminist dogma and doctrine. And I was just really naive because I was, as you know, when we met, I was the white knight.
Right.
That's just kind of my default. I would give and give and give. The problem was we started off fine. We had that hierarchy set up, and I'm doing my thing, and she was in that role. But then, I went through a bankruptcy with a business that I had, and, financially strapped, and they came from a lot of money, and all of a sudden the power dynamic shifted, and then all of a sudden I was kind of putting her on that pedestal of like, well, what can I do for you? I'm going to help you, blah blah blah. She started a little business, and as soon as a guy does that, that power dynamic shifts. It's like it's something triggers inside a woman where they just lose respect. They just don't have the same desire for you.
Yeah.
And I really, I take full responsibility. I allowed that dynamic to take place in my home. And there's many things I could have done. I should have never moved close to her parents. If we lived in any other city, we'd probably still be married. But it was being around that toxic environment and being fed that bull crap.
Yep.
It's tough to overcome.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I recommend to know is you just need to be very aware. And all the women, the feminists, are going to say, well, you're just trying to control and manipulate, blah, blah, blah. You're damn right I am, because I'm going to protect my family, because women aren't protecting the family. You're just from the family. It's 70 to 80% of the divorces. So let's just stop the nonsense right now. We're going to protect the family. And it's not going to be the way you're saying. And men need to take charge like that. But you can't put that genie back in the bottle. That's why I want to talk to the younger guys in high school, college. You got to start that right out of the gate. And it's like you train them, they're going to train you. And you got to get clear about your mission and what that's going to look like. And just it's like any battle. It's like once you win the war, you win that battle, you have to maintain it with discipline and structure. You have to be very diligent in how you do that. Just because you clear out the garden in the backyard, plant all your tomatoes and flowers, if you don't pay attention to that garden, it won't be short order before the weeds overtake your garden. You got no more garden. So it's not just about winning the woman and getting that. It's like you need to then maintain that hierarchy in that position. And that takes constant effort and awareness. And you just can't be slacking that. And I never thought we'd be divorced ever. It was not even on the table. That's not going to happen. Until it did. I was like,
until
damn.
it did. Well, back to that Sun Tzu quote, knowing your enemy and being able to win a battle. So.
Yep. And I was just, quite frankly, it was my arrogance thinking, oh, she's not like that. That would never happen. And the men, fortunately, good men in my life. And I was talking to one of these guys a couple weeks ago, And he was joking about it. He's like, yeah, you would come in here and say, yeah, you don't understand your wife, and she would never do that. And like, we all knew what she was up to. I mean, Stevie Wonder could see what she was up to, but I was so delusional thinking, oh, she would never want it. She said she wants to reconcile. That's bullcrap. She never wanted to reconcile.
Right. Yeah, PWS said it's sad how mothers negatively influence their daughters in their marriage. Guess it's just another crab in a bucket mentality. Oh, Uncle Guns brings up a good point. He's like, can't talk to the young. It's extremely
And the thing is,
difficult to
mothers aren't teaching. We're not teaching the kids how to be wives.
Right, that's true. That is true. But Guns brings up how difficult it is to compete with Xbox, Pornhub, bad food, alcohol, street drugs, etc. And I would add on to that social media. Social media is a fucking addiction like no other.
Dopamine. That's my challenge. That's what I'm going to do. Amanda, I was just in the Colorado mountains, hiking the Colorado Trail. A couple of
Yeah.
years ago, I hiked across the Upper Peninsula, 500 miles, 30 days up there. I just signed up for the Ukraine Marathon, so I'm planning on running that in October. I'll do my best to compete with Xbox and all these other fake things. I just think the real world, real adrenaline, real dopamine is way better than the artificial stuff that you get from technology. And again, I'm old. I could be wrong, but men come alive when they're out doing adventurous stuff. You teach them how to get on the Jeep, and let's teach you how to learn how to manual transmission. Let's go hit the dunes, get on that dirt bike. Let's go scuba diving, deep sea fishing, jumping out of an airplane. Let's push the adrenaline. I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was 23 years old working for a bank in Indianapolis, I was held hostage at gunpoint. And that was a scary situation. And again, keeping the story short, I got out of the situation. He let me go. But that night, I didn't sleep a wink because I was thinking about what if today at 23 years of age was my last day? What was I living my life for? What was it all about? Is it really about chasing a little Scooby snack or the next good time or the next drug or the next alcohol? Was that really what I wanted to be about? Well, hell no, that's not what I wanted to be known for. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to be a husband. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to create a legacy. I wanted to build something that would last. And I changed, but I realized I loved the thrill of chasing women. I loved the thrill of the buzz from alcohol and drugs. I loved that. But I knew I couldn't do that anymore because it was going to keep me from achieving my real ultimate goal. So I had to do things that were going to give me the same or similar dopamine spike. And that's when I learned how to fly airplanes. I jumped out of airplanes, continued the scuba diving. I did everything I could think of that would give me that because I knew that's what I needed, but I wasn't going to do it in a way that would do damage or be detrimental to my future. And I'm up for the challenge of talking with young men about that. It's like, and I'd be honest with you. What? Maybe I've got this all wrong. Maybe I should be, looking at Cornhub. Maybe I should be getting involved with Xbox. What am I missing? But I played all those video games back in the day, and I had to pay 25 cents a damn game for Pac-Man when I was a kid.
Right.
Freebie stuff at home. We had to go somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people are just trying to disconnect from reality, and I mean, they see so many things going on and so much wrong, and they don't really want to deal with any of it. I have to say something. There's a crazy bitch that made a comment in my chat. She has not felt confident enough to do that for a long time. She thinks just because she's welcome other places that she can fucking run her mouth here, and she's not. So PJ, it's not gonna happen. Sorry. The guys will go entertain you on their platforms, but you're still not fucking allowed here. You give them an inch, they fucking want a
in
mile.
trouble with you?
Oh no, One of my pieces of crazy bitch baggage that I've collected along my journeys on the internet. She's been banned from my channel for like almost 3 years, probably. And
Wow.
she just thinks, she's so obsessed. She watches every fucking stream and tries to make comments, and she gets blocked at every turn. She doesn't get it. She does not take no for an answer. So she wants to be included, and this isn't about including crazy bitches. So
Yeah,
she's
like a
not
child.
welcome. Yes, like a child.
No, just shut them out.
Yep.
Don't give them their drug and their drug's attention.
Yeah.
Just shut them down. I had a unique experience in I ran in this trail run out in West Coast, and I was talking to this gal. She was probably, if I had to guess, 40-ish. And this is from her perspective. What she said, she was the woman, I mean, just a dime when she was younger. High school, college, she'd with a group of, guys and girls. She would be the one that they would put to the front of the line at the bars, the velvet rope, and the bouncers would see her, and they'd get in. And it always had, great time, fun. Guys love blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what happened? The wall hits. And now it's like, I just don't understand. I think the men just aren't there, like they used to be.
Yeah.
I just started explaining to her the basic tenets, the obvious common sense things that everybody in the manosphere, we all know. It's common sense. And you should have seen the look on her face. It was like, I have never heard any of this before.
Yeah.
Well, you never had to before because you could live on your looks. But guess what? Them's going bye-bye. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
Now this is when you wake up and here's reality. And so, but she's got her dogs, and all right.
Yeah.
No bad. It's really sad because there's no reason in the world that a woman like that should have had everything set up perfectly. Because women like that, guys they die for them. Backwards and gets it away.
Yeah. Well, what's next, RJ? What do you got going on next for content? Your channel got over 100.
Well, I'm really excited to get content. I'm working on this Making of a Man project, which I'm excited about. I'm redoing the Gambling for Life book, as I said, talking more about what's really going on with men and women. It's geared towards the fellas and the dangers and risks of marriage today. I'm still a marriage guy, but you've got to really go in eyes wide open. The landscape has changed drastically.
Yeah.
And so that'll be re-released probably middle part of next year. Got some the faith book that I put out. That's going to be re-released in a month or two, adding a few more chapters on that. We didn't talk about that today at all, Amanda.
Yep.
Is that faith? The word faith has kind of been hijacked by, I don't know if it'd be called the atheist or you call it, but they use the word faith as like blind faith, and it's almost like they mock people that have faith, like religion. It's like, oh, well, you believe. Recapture that word, because faith is just like any other normal word, and every single human being operates in a world of faith. It's just what you understand to be true. And if you want to know what somebody believes or what they have faith in, you look at their checkbook and their calendar, and that's what they believe, that's what they do. And it's not blind faith. The faith that we have is always based on what you understand and if you think it's true. It doesn't mean it is true, and it doesn't mean you do understand it.
Right.
That's what faith is. And I just want to recapture that word and strip it away from these, I don't know, it's just these delusional people. Well, I just believe what I want. I'm a 10. No, you're not. If I have faith, if I believe enough, I will be. No, you won't.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, I don't
Crazy
care.
bitches.
I don't care how. I mean, I don't care how. But even like, I don't care how much LeBron James thinks he wants to be a professional jockey. He can believe it and have all the faith in the world. Shaquille O'Neal. Um, so I'm working on that. I've got an article that I'm just about wrapped up with about why atheists are smarter than Christians.
Mm.
And that pisses off all my Christian friends because, oh man, how can you say that? And just to cut to the chase, the real reason is mysticism. They use this delusional, mystical, spiritual nonsense that's nowhere to be found on Scripture. It's really funny. If you read Scripture for yourself in the Bible,
Right.
you won't find that anywhere. You know, you get
Right.
these people that are saying, well, I'm waiting to hear a voice from God. Well, you'll know when he says it, you'll hear it. And they're like, well, no, read Scripture. Nowhere in the Bible does anybody say, well, I think this is what he said. No. God spoke to Moses and said, do this. And Moses argued with God. I mean, it was an audible conversation.
Yeah.
But atheists don't buy into that mystical nonsense.
Right.
Don't allow that mystical nonsense to cloud their thinking.
Right.
But if you just focus on faith as it being, evidence, logic, truth, reason, and focus on that, what you understand to be true, that shifts the balance a little bit. So I'm really trying to do that. But I don't know. That's about it, I guess. I've always got something going on. It seems like there's never enough, hours in the day.
Right.
But I'm excited about all of it. I'm really excited to see your Crazy Bitch boot camp, though. I mean, I'm just, it's gonna be.
You want to see it come to fruition?
It's so good, and I can't wait to see the questions. I mean, I'm envisioning it. The headline survey. On those Vogue or Teen Vogue or whatever those.
Mm.
It's like, take the survey. 10 type of person.
Right.
Out, and then you have your 10 or 15 questions, and it scores it for them. So then you hit total. It's like, holy crap! I'm a crazy bitch. What to do next? Talk to Amanda. But I don't want any part of it at all.
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
deal with the women. I just focus on the dudes. Women can take care of themselves.
You know what though? I've realized that because this is so funny. Actually, one of my nicknames from one of my kids' friends, and this is kind of where I came up with adding "crazy bitch" onto it. Like I've been kind of like an aunt to these 7 girls for the longest time, and they reach out to me from time to time when they want the honest fucking truth with stuff.
Right.
It's like they call me Boot Camp Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like their nickname for me. But it's like Crazy Bitch Boot Camp is more like a mode of operating, I think. Because trying to explain it, it's like, I mean, I would love to see actual Crazy Bitch boot camps where women can like go and like do their thing. But I feel like I take that everywhere I go. So I like share boot camp in every one of my environments.
Right. Nope, I get it. No, but I can just envision what you're going to do. You're going to have some kind of little online course. You're going to have like maybe a weekly discussion where people can Zoom in together, private, just females.
Yeah.
And you can kind of, just expand it a little bit more. So then, broaden your reach a little bit. Because I do see there's women they're starting, they see this delusion. They're starting to realize what's going on. There are good mothers that see how it's affecting their sons. Not all moms are devouring moms. They don't all want to have, a son husband. They want their boys to be successful and find a good woman. And their heart's breaking because they see what their options that are available out there. Not just the obesity with these women. The women that don't care about what they look like. They don't care about what they look like with blue, purple, pink hair with door knockers coming out of their nose, tattoos everywhere. Yeah. It's like, really? This is the gal that I want to build my legacy with and have children with and be the mother of my children? No, sorry. Yeah. I'm going to take this woman on a business meeting, as I'm building my business, and this is how this. No, sorry, that's not going to work. So Yeah, I see moms that are dealing with that, and what the feminists have done to the women and the choices for their boys.
Yeah.
It's just sad. But I think the best way to fix a lot of this is you just have to get back to the truth of the way things actually are. What works, what doesn't work, and it's not just that pragmatic is the goal or pragmatism, but it's just there's a reason why a book like the Bible has stood the test of time.
Yeah.
Just prove it. It doesn't work. I mean, it's been tested over and over and over again. And anything that can be proven with archaeological finds and evidence, it has been. And I told the story one time. The guy's like, "Yeah, but there's some real unbelievable stuff in the Bible." I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course there is. And, well, how can you believe that stuff?" And I said, "Well, the main reason is because everything else there that can be proven has been proven to be true. And all these other things seem reasonable. So doesn't it make sense that if all of the other evidence supports it logically, doesn't it make sense that the unbelievable stuff is true also?" And they're like, "Well, I don't know." So let me put it to you this way. Let's say you come home and you've been married to your wife for 20 years, having a great relationship, and you're talking about your day over the dinner table, and she starts to tell you about her day. And, one story, that's plausible, that's reasonable. Another story, yeah, okay, great. And she tells you 3, 4, 5 stories, and you're all like, yeah, okay, got that. But her last story is so over the top unbelievable. And so it's an absolutely unbelievable story. Now, let me ask you this. How would that relationship go the rest of the night if you said to your wife, "You know what, sweetheart? Great stories. I believe all of them except the last one. I don't believe that last one. I think you made that one up." How do you think that relationship's going to go? That's not going to go very, very good. But it doesn't even make logical sense if she's never had a history of making up stories like that. Why would that one be, not true? If I
Right.
were to tell you, I was held hostage in gunpoint. I've been in a bodybuilding competition where I had to wear the ding-a-ling sling in the banana hammock. I've ran for political office.
Yep.
I've gone through so many things
Yeah.
that you're like, nah. I'm like, yeah, they're unbelievable, but that doesn't mean they didn't happen and they weren't true. And
Right.
mysticism is different than the supernatural, and I think
Right.
that's why we're seeing so much of the UFO stuff now, because
Mm.
evolution is being disproven over and over. That you can have non-life create life, and to take it one step further, there's no way like a little box of rocks over time is going to create life and then create our consciousness and our spirit and our mentality. That doesn't happen. And so the scientists, the evolutionists, have to come up with some way to make their theory fit, because there's no way they're going to buy into the Bible program. And that's why I say that's the ultimate conspiracy theory, is everything is an attack on the Bible. If the Bible says it's true, the world's going to say that it's not. And now you introduce UFOs. That's the intelligent being. Those are the intelligent life forms that created life force on Earth. So you have to come up with some intelligent being, because it couldn't have created it on its own. And that's what I think we're doing. It's just another distraction, but
Yeah.
this is just me talking.
Yeah. I don't know. I think science and religion
Are very
explain
compatible.
different. They just explain different truths. It's like, yeah, science is good for explaining what things are, and religion is really good at explaining how things are, and give the cause and effect on people's behavior.
Well,
Like,
yeah, or why they are.
yeah.
Let's take, for example, you're a good homemaker, Amanda, and you're going to bake your son a cake, and you're doing the ingredients, blah 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 blah. You could get all sorts of scientists together, chemists, and they'll tell you exactly the chemical makeup of that cake. They'll tell you how long you cooked it,
Yeah.
what the eggs, were they fresh? They can lay it all out: protein, carbs, fats. They know all of it. There's no way science can tell you why you baked the cake.
Right.
The only way you can know, anyone can know why you baked the cake, is if you reveal to them why you baked the cake. And that's what the Bible does. That's what religion does.
Yeah.
That way we are. And you're right. Science and religion is different in that regard. But what I don't like it is when people use that scientists say, but we don't use faith. Oh, yes, you do. You use faith in every single experiment you do. You have a hypothesis, you test it, you prove it out. Studying the Bible or religion should be no different. There's evidence, you use logic and reason to figure it out, and it should be exactly the same. But the functions and what they result in are different. How, the nuts and bolts, that science, the why answers are questions are answered with religion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
good discussion, Amanda.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it. Thank you, RJ, for joining me.
Has this been, are we at like 30 minutes?
No, we're at an hour and almost 40 minutes.
No way.
Yeah, no, it goes by fast, man.
Holy smokes. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it again. We'll come up with some other stuff. There's a
Okay.
lot of other clips though with that Exodus.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna share it
Crazy listening to
again.
These dudes, they were really, really sharp.
I know.
Yeah, let's do it again soon. This will be fun.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, RJ,
All
for
right.
your wisdom.
Yeah. You're welcome, Amanda. You're a good woman. I like you. Take care.
Thank you. All right, bye. All right, I'm gonna share real quick. There we go. The biblical series from Jordan Peterson's channel. If anybody hasn't listened to it yet, it's pretty good. So, all right, y'all. I'm gonna call it on this. Good to see you, Johnny. Hey, Timothy. Braxton Smith. Good to see you, sir. Billy. Emmanuel, aka James House of Bond. You couldn't find Emmanuel earlier. Thanks, Uncle Guns, for being here. Yeah, Guns, I thought you would like RJ. Kush, good to see you. Timothy, always a pleasure, sir. I didn't see JR. RJ reminds you of Jorah Mormont. Yeah. All right, y'all. Have a good rest of your day.